Peace.
Peace.
This is Joshua Miller Law, Mr. PhD. You're just now entering the cipher called Real2reel360. K-Wise.
Peace, God.
Bring that beat in, kid.
Indeed.
Peace.
Yeah. What's going on, party people? Welcome to the Real2reel360 show. Let's get it in.
We do the knowledge and wisdom so you can understand. Real360 shows in full command. We changing the game for how it all was taught. From bondage to freedom to an independent thought. Yo, the show is here to bring about a change for real. To lighten everyone so we all know the deal. 360 degrees is a fact. We created the show to give our love back to our communities so we can know what's going on and give them the support from knowledge to born. So if you're ready to learn, then it's time to go. Sit back and relax and enjoy your show. Peace.
Peace and blessings. What's going on, peoples? What's good? What's good? Welcome to the Real2reel360 show. Peace to Allah's mighty 5% nation of gods and earth, to all the human families of the planet Earth. We bid you a love, peace, and happiness salute. We're going to jump right in it because we got a good one today, and we want to give you, listen, it's very cold out there. There's an Arctic blast going on all throughout the whole nation, so please be careful in your travels or wherever you are. Make sure you are safe at all times. All right. Without further ado, let me bring on my co-host with the most, Mr. Joshua Miller, a.k.a. Mr. PhD. Peace, Almighty.
Peace, God. How you doing tonight? We want to say thank you for all followers, listeners, and subscribers, those individuals who have been supporting us since day one. Also, too, like the God said, there's an Arctic blast. Make sure that you stay warm. Make sure that you have enough food in the house. Make sure everything is great for just you and your babies. And if you don't have to go outside, please don't. But today's episode is like near and dear to me. We always talk about day one cats and individuals that we grew up with and the love we have for our partners. You know, this individual right here is more than like a day one. He's like a conception homie. You know what I'm saying? I can't remember a time in my life where he wasn't there. I don't care if it was in New York, if it was in Virginia, and currently now, you know what I mean? So he's always played a part in my life. He's always been my brother. But today he's coming on the show because he's an accountant and a tax strategist. And also, too, with what y'all are about to find out is he was ranked in one of the top 100s in tennis. You know what I'm saying? He was a bad boy on that tennis court. But ladies and gentlemen, get your hands together and welcome my brother, Robert McFadden.
All right. Peace and blessings.
What's happening?
Thank you for having me.
Man. You know, I can't stop smiling because this is my bro. You know what I'm saying? Like ups and downs. This is my bro right here. This is my brother right here. And I put up I put up a picture, and this picture is like I was saying behind the thing. It's like us sitting at the table. We playing spades. We drinking that Budweiser. At least some of us was, and we having a good time. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, that was on December 25th. You know, where we always celebrate. You know, saying Born P, what we call Woo, birthday. So. But I want to say thank you for coming on, my brother. You know what I'm saying? It's been a long time seeing you. I miss seeing you, miss being around you. I miss the jokes, you know what I'm saying, that we always have. And, you know, it's nothing but love from me to you, bro. I love you, man. But today, let's talk about what you do. You know what I mean? Let the people know what you do, how they can get in touch with you and things like that.
Okay. Well, again, Robert McFadden. I'm an accountant and tax strategist. I work with mostly at this point small businesses, those who are startups, serial entrepreneurs, and things of the like, who basically need help in making sure that they are accounting for their business correctly. They're maximizing, you know, what they're able to do in their business, and also minimizing taxes, so that for the long haul, they can actually stay in business a lot longer.
Okay. Now, I got it. Go ahead. I'm sorry for cutting you off because I had a couple of questions already.
No, go ahead, shoot.
You know, when you first start becoming employed, right? They ask you, they give you the I-9s and things of that nature,
Yeah.
right? And majority of individuals who are married, they check married and they just count themselves as deductions. Is there any other option to that? You know what I'm saying? As far as like, say, like you a spouse and it's just one child.
Yeah, well, okay. That's a very good question, because what most people don't know is that W-4 that you're given
Mm-hmm.
is rigged out the
Oh,
gate, because it's designed to make sure that you pay.
Mm.
When you go down that form, it keeps asking you to list one for this, one for that, one for that. But what people don't really understand is every time you put a number down there, you're actually saying you have that's another dependent.
mm-hmm.
So you can come down at the end, and it could, let's say you're a single mom or a single dad and you just got one child, but
Mm-hmm.
you're working maybe a full-time job and then you got a part-time job.
Mm-hmm.
Well, by the time you finish marking those, you're going to have 4 at the end. So it's going to treat you as if you have 4 dependents.
Wow.
The reality is you only have 2.
Right.
But if you go by the questions, it's going to have you putting down 4.
Mm-hmm.
And most people will go with that because you're getting more back in your check.
Mm-hmm.
But then you're hurting at the end of the year, because now you're going to owe.
Yo.
You got to figure out how you're going to come up with the money.
Right. Because I noticed that when it comes down to taxes and things like that, there is like you need to go to specific individuals to do your taxes, a professional such as yourself, and trying to do it on your own and not understanding the actual tax what they call the tax racket
Yeah.
is best to try it that way. So I had that question because I ran into it for the last few years myself, and I've been having issues for us during tax season.
Right.
You know what I mean? But
A lot of people will use TurboTax and a lot of those, but still, if you're unfamiliar with the language, you can still get messed up in it. And I'm quite sure you've seen over the news how they've had all this, file for free, file for free, when in actuality, they were overcharging you to begin with by the time you got to the end of it. And most people are just going to finish it out. But I get a lot of clients who did their stuff on TurboTax or one of those softwares, but then have to come and have it redone.
mhm,
It's self-explanatory as it actually seems. Sometimes it's not,
mhm,
and that's one of the things that, we're not often given the information up front.
mhm,
That's something I think we should all learn in school. Hey, tax is a big part of your life. That should be in part of our structure in our class setting, so we have an idea of what's going on. But again, if you look at the whole tax system, it's not designed for you to actually be knowledgeable about it. But also, the tax system is not designed for individuals.
mhm,
It's really designed for businesses and corporations,
mhm,
because that's where all your loopholes is. That's where all your tax credits are. That's where you get the most bang out of taxes, is if you have some kind of business. So, like, most people are working right now in the gig economy. Well,
mhm.
it's good for them, but only if they're structured correctly, they can really do something with it. Now, on the other side, if you don't have that and you're just a homeowner, or you just have your W-2, you're very limited.
So how do I become Trump exempt?
Ah,
That's the new lingo right there. I want to be
listen,
Trump exempt.
to be Trump exempt really means to have sufficient business,
Mhm.
uh, to have many employees, and to be structured in a way by how your business is set up. A lot of people are set up as LLCs, but then they may have an election to be an S corp. With
Mhm.
that S corp election, it still passes back to your personal taxes, but you just get to write off so much. For example, let's say you know Real to Real is set up as an S corp, and you guys are knocking down 100,000 a year, and let's say you split it down the middle, so it's 50-50. But you're also gonna decide that you're gonna pay yourself 25% of what you're making and put it into your 401ks. But you're also gonna pay your kids and the grandkids, so that they're now paying for all of their soccer, you know, gymnastics or whatever they take. So now they pay their own expenses because you're paying them because they work for you, but they don't pay taxes because you're only going to pay them up to $14,000, so they're tax exempt. So look how much is coming off your 50,000.
Right.
Let's go a step further. When you take 25% of that 50,000 and you put it into your 401k, your retirement, that money also comes off of there. So by the time you look at it, yeah, you had 50, but you're only going to pay taxes on 20.
Wow, that's deep. Now, explain to us the S corp. Now we understand the LLC part because, like you said, everybody has been jumping at this nonprofit status and this full, you know what I'm saying, this LLC. S corp is something that's new to me, at least to me it is.
Okay, so an S corp is just it's a tax election. Once you have your LLC and you elect to be taxed as an S corporation. So your tax is a corporation, but it's still going back to your personal taxes. That's different from a C corp. A C corp is just going to give you double taxation. The S corp is going to give you the protection of a corporation with the tax structure of being an LLC or a sole proprietor. But you're going to have little things in there that allow you to make certain move distributions and everything else that's going to lower your tax base.
Okay.
And if we go back to the Trump thing, you notice how they, you know, Trump, as they talk about Trump in the news, he has 500 different LLCs. Yeah, well, he's just, you know, 3-card Molly, the shells, they moving all around. They're paying each other. By the time they finish paying each other, they don't have any money. So they're not getting taxed on anything. That's pretty much what it is. And that's pretty much the way that wealth goes.
Now, when, first of all, let's start here. What made you want to become an accountant and work in economics?
Now, I actually started in finance. And the dean of the department at the time called me in, Dr. Mapp, and asked me why did I want to go into finance. And I told him I like dealing with numbers, I like dealing with, you know, finances and everything else. And he actually told me, he said, well, look, get out of finance and go into accounting. Now, my whole thing was, why would I want to do accounting? I said finance. And he explained to me at the time, Dr. Mapp, who was just great brother, basically said all the accountants have the finance jobs, because in finance you need to know accounting in order to tell someone how to really successfully, you know, deal with their finances. So that's what got me over to accounting. And once I got there, I actually stayed, because the nuts and bolts to everything is what's in the background, and the background is accounting. If you don't know, you know, everyone thinks it's a bunch of math, but it's actually just a bunch of rules.
Now, with your background, where did you go to school and to become certified or get your degree in finances?
So I went to Norfolk State University, and I graduated with a degree in accounting. Started my master's, haven't finished it yet for whatever reasons, but most of it also is I decided I didn't want to go for a CPA. I like the tax side of what I was doing, but I also realized that I think all of that came into play because I watched my dad and my uncles who had body shops when I was a young kid, but
Mm-hmm.
most of them got closed down because of taxes,
Mm-hmm.
and they didn't have good structure around their accounting. You
Mm-hmm.
know, most of the brothers who are, have businesses, it's like, money in the fist, and we gonna divvy it out this way because it's in my mind what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
But in order to be successful about it, you have to know how to write that information down, have those rules, and have the track record.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I was actually just tied to it without really realizing what my passion was for helping people and help them actually be successful in their business and learn how to account for it. It came out of me actually seeing my own
Mm-hmm.
family members, including my dad, lose
Mm-hmm.
their shops because they didn't know tax and accounting.
Mm-hmm.
But I
What
never realized it until it was like really later.
Okay.
I want to ask this because I think it's very vital.
Hmm.
Why do you suppose that this particular curriculum isn't taught in the lower school levels and so forth? Like, the public school systems really never teach you to calculate about math in the way of taxation and stuff like that. It's the design, to me, it seems like it was designed for us not to know, and just to keep us working, to keep them rich and keep us poor, like rich
Well,
man, poor man.
both of y'all already know the answer to this. You don't know the answer to this. There's certain knowledge that you're not to be given
Mm-hmm.
because it's not for you to be successful at this unless you're kind of a part of different groups. And
Mm-hmm.
don't get me wrong, I'm not even saying it's racial. It's
Mm-hmm.
actually more to me economics.
Mhm.
Certain social economic circles,
Mm-hmm.
even though they're not going to get it in school, they're going to get it because of who they're around and who they're associated with,
Mm-hmm.
where others are not. And quite frankly, if you have everyone actually able to be successful at running their businesses and actually, going through the tax code, and it's not just for the super rich, then what does the government itself have to stand on? Because it can't get as much tax dollars out of everyone because they know the rules and they know how to skate around it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Now,
everyone thinks that tax evasion is such a big thing. No, the big thing is tax avoidance. You can avoid certain taxes when you know the rules,
mm-hmm.
or you have someone on your team that knows the rules. But as I'm stating to a lot of people who are coming to me in private sessions right now, most of them don't want to pay to get the information and to get the know-how.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know in school we had a class called business math that never taught us business.
Yeah, yeah,
And I
yeah.
think we were in that same classroom together. And you're right that I've learned one thing, that people who are successful be around other successful people. And during that conversation, they speak about how to become more successful.
Right. Hmm.
And people who are not successful stay around other people who are not successful. And they talk about things that will continue to make them unsuccessful.
Definitely.
So when we talk about taxing and of course, you know what I'm saying, back then when individuals had businesses and everything was cash, everything was, your word, your barter system, or however they
Hmm.
dealt with business. How important do you feel that to have an actual accountant aligned with your business back then and today can ensure your success?
Oh, it's one of the most successful positions that you're gonna have. For me, there's three main people
Mm-hmm.
in your business: an attorney,
Mm-hmm.
an accountant,
Mm-hmm.
and a consultant or advisor.
Mm-hmm.
Those three you cannot do without.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason you can't do without because you don't know everything. Nobody does. And the most successful people surround themselves with people who are extremely good at what they do and the stuff they do not know. So, you see guys, let's just take the top ones. Let's take Elon Musk. Well, he might be a very smart dude, but he's nothing without a team.
Right.
And you see everyone always shuffling their team. They're always getting their team better. If your team is no good, you're not reaching the level that you want to reach. Even I have consultants to help me, to lift up higher in me trying to build my practice up. And as an accountant, when you're trying to, level up your business, you're always going to be going for extra financing. You're always going to be going looking for credit in order to make that next move and the next step. But if, you can't go to the bank with a shoebox of paper.
Right.
They want it. And most people say, oh, well, I got a profit and loss statement. That's not, that's all fine and good, but they're looking for a balance sheet. And when they look at that balance sheet, their lines they're going through to make sure everything is correct. Now you can have all the money in the world and have a terrible balance sheet and you can't get a dime.
I tell you, it's always, as always, it's definitely understanding that we must always be forthcoming with everything, because we're the only ones who can help each other with this knowledge. And when we do that, it's like it just blows me at this moment when I think about what we don't know. You know what I'm saying? What we don't know when it comes down, because everybody is opinionated, but they don't have the knowledge to take them where they need to be. That's the sad part.
I also find it disheartening how a lot of us that have a lot of the knowledge, we sparingly give it out. I get it where some people will take it, misuse it, or waste a lot of time. But I always tell people a kumbaya moment where we all grouping up and holding hands is just a fantasy. I just say reach your hand out, and whoever grabs at it, give it to them. Because we can't force everybody into the same type of mentality that that we like them to have. But we can reach out for the ones who are hungry enough, who want it, and when they reach out, let's grab those hands and say, this is the information I have. I'm right now working up a series on just for, our people out there who have these gigs and saying, this is how you build it. This is how you bring it up. I don't want anything for it, but I think if enough people have this, they can just do more for themselves, their families, and their communities.
Well, I think back, and this question I have for you is coming from the suburban ghetto that we come from, and knowing that the school that we went to was unaccredited, wasn't like really a real accredited high school. And how hard was it for you to really achieve the goal that you achieved today?
The funny thing is, when I finally did go to college, we still had people in the universities who were there because they wanted to be there and they wanted to help. They didn't look at it as a job. They still had that endearing spirit that said, nah, we got to help. We got to help them. And that's the one thing I love about a HBCU back then was the people who were there, they cared about who was in that school. Whether you wanted them to care or not, they still had that old, mentality. No, you're going to get this. But I think that's all gone because we, live in such a selfish society now that people aren't the same way. So I was fortunate to go to school during a time where, even though I feel like in some ways I was unequipped, but I was equipped and hungry enough to say, you know what, this is what I want to do. I'm going to get it. And I had good people around me. And,
Right.
the biggest thing is always surrounding yourself with the best people.
Mm-hmm.
If you're the smartest one in the group, you need a new group.
Right.
Right.
And well, I look at things in that, and coming up, we had dreams and aspirations,
Yeah.
athletically, yourself and myself. We both had
Right.
dreams and aspirations athletically, because like I was speaking in the very beginning, you were part of the top 100 tennis players in the world
Well,
at the time.
I ranked, I think I got one ranking, but it was in like the nines, and it was in the nines. On the island, I probably was top 100 on the Long Island, New York, but world rank, there was somewhere in the low nines. But that was an accomplishment in itself. I don't even take that for granted, considering how many people were out there.
Right.
But I was blessed because we're still talking about those good people. Emily Moore, who was just one of those people who, no, this is what you're going to do and this is you're going to get it. Didn't have no relation to me whatsoever. But we know her to always want to see everybody succeed.
Right.
And quite frankly, those old spirits and old souls haven't been replaced.
Right. Now this is where I was going to lead into that. How much of an obligation do you feel that to reach back to individuals coming from areas like we come from, and or even just help the youth coming back because of what is out there?
There's always a big obligation for that. And I just think we need really good vehicles in order for those who want to give back to give back. I definitely would love to give back even more, which is why I'm trying to put together this series where it's just totally free. Hey, you just go watch it, go get it. You have some questions, send some emails, but it's not about how much I can make off of it. It's, what can I inspire somebody else to do? What can I give to somebody else that might have a spark that they catch on to and they grow with it. I don't need to see it. I don't need to know what you're doing. I don't need to be somewhere with a camera trying to record it for my own pompous ego. No, I just need you to catch it, get it, and just go with it. So having a good vehicle for that would be great.
Are you well versed with the 1090, 1099, or the 999, should I say, for nonprofit organizations and stuff like that for tax purposes?
So those are 990s, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm definitely well versed with that. I work with several nonprofit organizations right now as clients.
Okay. Now, when you work with minority businesses, how much of a tax break do they get for being minority businesses, and how do you help become a part of their situation?
So that whole, you get a tax break as a minority business. Nah, those are just those are campaign slogans.
Okay.
Everybody's doing the same thing. They don't have a tax credit for being black or being brown skinned. They don't have that. What they do have on the opposite side is the way our community is set up. We have knocks against us in the tax code. Because a lot of us shack up. We're not married.
Right.
So there's a difference between a standard exemption of about 25,000 versus 12,200 because we're not married. There's this whole thing in our community where if a mother's not working, but she has, all the rights to the kid, most of the time she might sell that child to someone else and get a couple $100, not realizing that whole structure. If you had that structure in place, your tax credits are going to be much higher, therefore giving you back a better return.
Make sure we say it right, not the child, but the social security number.
Social security number. You're right, absolutely. Social security number. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, got to be careful. So yes, there's a lot of that going on, and there was a time back in Norfolk where I was educating a lot of people on that. Depending on what kind of hustle they had. What are you doing? Let me show you how to file your hustle, as long as it isn't illegal. Let me show you how to file it, so that you are creating a track record. You're not giving your kids social security numbers out. And what most people are finding now, we're giving out their social security numbers, is when the kids get ready to go and they might apply for financial aid, they're all messed up.
Wow.
Because they can't tie it back to the parent, because it's someone else who had the social security number filing on it. So when FAFSA comes and pulls the records don't match, the kids can't go to school. They can't get their Pell Grants.
Wow.
So it's so much to it that we're unknowledgeable about, and then we don't realize that even sometimes when we're doing this and we're trying to just do something quick, that we're messing up the kids in the process.
Have to be forward thinkers and contemplate everybody into the situation.
We have to understand, learning the rules and learning how to play the game is just part of life. Wow. When we skip around it and we try and do those little small things, we can't see what's coming down the road, 5, 6, 7 years later.
In your business, you state how you help small businesses strategize. Now, what in your business, what is the things that they have to strategize on? Their perspective of different quarterly expectations and stuff like that.
So, for the most part, we do tax strategies. Where is the tax savings going to come from? How we're going to keep more of what we earn. Those are the different strategies. As I spoke, how we're going to hire the kids, how we might hire the grandbabies. With most people, and this is really simple. Well, if you're paying your child $12,200, and that child is exempt from taxes, so now everything that the child has to pay for, including after school programs and everything else, the child is paying for it. But you already got a tax write-off from that money. So no longer are you taking the money where you've already been taxed on it, and now you're paying it out. That's the difference. Now you paid it to the child is paying it, but you got the tax write-off for it, and you're not paying taxes on the money.
Wow. Now, can you speak to the different levels of social economic statuses that individuals have? Whereas you're talking about, if you don't only earn so much, you become tax exempt. Then you get into a situation when you earn a little bit more, you get this child income credit that a lot of people is trying their best to make sure that they fill in the family court system up with babies, so they can get this child credit. Then once you get outside of a certain dollar amount, the child income credit is gone.
Right.
Right.
So the child income tax credit is supposed to be for the working poor. Okay. So let's take it backwards. Most people don't realize that if you're on a W-2 and you make less than $8,000, you're really not going to have any taxes to pay. Okay. But the difference is you're going to need anywhere from $9,500 up to 21,000 to get the earned income credit. So you're going to need to, be in that range, and then you get the highest earned income credit. The other portion of it is once you get outside of that range, now all your credits start to, get lower as you make more money. So those people who are making 25,000 to 35,000, you're in a good tax bracket, but at the same time, you could collapse either way very quickly. Is a stroke of Congress's pen, and the next thing you know, you're not gonna, everything is gonna happen. Just like in 2023, we're looking at most people are gonna get back much less in their tax refunds as they think they will, and that's because those credits and those stimulus have run out, and they weren't free. Congress is now going to ask for those back. Now, take it to the next level where you have individuals and families who are making $100,000 and above. Well, up until $1 million, you're going to get hit really hard because Congress has already set it up that you're going to be taxed heavier. And this is to pay for all those different programs and all this money that they gave out. So knowing your tax bracket, knowing where you fit, and having investments on the other side is the most important key. And those investments normally come from passive income. Passive income is one of the best things that you can do because you're going to get taxed on it lower. Investments, you get taxed on lower. And that's part of the tax game that the rich know, the wealthy know, the socioeconomic higher ladders know. Make investments. Investments pay well, but investments are taxed lower. And most people don't understand, how can this investment be taxed lower than my W-2? W-2s are the one that pay for everything. Investments don't.
Now, the thing is, growing up, we always saw the Cosbys and different middle class blacks, people of color on TV, and we aspired to have that, especially coming from Long Island. When you become in that tax bracket of being middle class, what they consider middle class, whether you upper middle or lower middle class, you realize that the taxes is heavier on that social economic area. Why is that? Why is that when there's the 1% of individuals who is over the middle class have the much more money and are tax least? Is it because of the investments?
It's because of their investments. They're taxed differently because they don't really, they don't work off of W-2s. They work off of investments, long-term investment strategies. So when they're getting checks, they're getting dividend checks. Dividends are taxed lower. They're getting distributions taxed lower. Plus, when they have that kind of money, they borrow money to live off of.
So that's the difference between having liquid assets and other assets?
Well, yes. And more importantly, they have assets that they're reaping money from because they made the investments. Poor people invest in liabilities. You don't get nothing from that but a bill and depreciate and something that's going to depreciate. But let's take the average middle class person with a home, and most people will go out and say, "Okay, I want my own house. I don't want nobody around me." Well, let's say if you went and you bought a duplex. Well, the other person is paying your rent for the whole thing, pretty much. You're able to make other investments, not go out and buy Mercedes and all this other stuff. So now you have passive income, you have real rental income, you have investment income, and you're also saving. So now as you keep duplicating that process, all the money you have coming in is not really from a W-2. is from investments, which are all taxed lower.
And I was going to ask you behind the scenes about an investment property, and you just touched on it. How much, like, because a lot of people want to buy a home. The first thing they do is they want to buy a single family home. They want to buy a ranch, whatever the case may be.
Right.
But I was looking at something, and it stated that your first home should be a duplex, meaning that it pays for itself.
Yes. A duplex or a fourplex. You know, the one of the things that I'm trying to teach my son is the first 10, 15 years of your life is nothing but sacrifice. Don't go out and have fun, just sacrifice. The fun is going to come after that. When you really know how to, you're a grown man, you're mature, and now you can really have fun. I'm trying to teach him, you know, hey, make sure that your first property you get is a fourplex, because FHA will finance that. You live in one of the units, and the other 3 units are paying for you to live and paying off the mortgage. You only have to need to live there for a year or 2. And say you stay there for 2 years, and now you want to go off and you want to buy, you know, you want your own home now. But you can afford to do that because the investment property itself is now not only paying the mortgage from the fourplex that you have, but it's also contributing to what you're going to buy. And that's the simplest form of how to get ahead. And then the real estate itself, every year you're making money off of it, but you're depreciating it. And there's so many tax loopholes in depreciating the properties. So that's why you see the real estate market is a gold mine for those who are working the strategies and making the sacrifices. It's not for those who are going out buying the big flashy homes so everybody can drive by and look at it and say, ooh. It's for those ones who are going out getting those properties that they know it's going to be paid off very quickly. They're going to have enough renters to pay it off. And those investments last a lifetime. And then let's say they're taking those properties and then putting them into a trust. So it just keeps passing down from generation to generation. It's a whole rabbit hole of those type of strategies. Excuse me.
Financial literacy is, from what I'm gathering just from the conversation alone, because there's so many things that you spoke about just in a short period of time that I know me personally didn't have any knowledge of. And I appreciate you for that moving forward. But the financial literacy and education and business, do you think that the youth that are coming up today, because they have so much difference in technology than we had, will be able to enjoy that luxury in school, in high school, before they get to college? Or is that something that will be taught at home as well?
I think it should be taught at home, but I also think the youth today can make more money than any adult can make. Excuse me. They just have so many more vehicles to make money on. They don't have to go anywhere to do it. They can stay home and make so much money, astronomical money. But the question is still going to be, do they know how to structure what they're doing in order to minimize the tax? And it really is on us to tell our kids, our nephews, nieces, and everything where the pitfalls are and how to navigate around it.
Let me ask you, what books would you recommend as far as maybe start off when it talks about financial literacy? You know, some of the basic steps.
Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. One of the best books you can go out there and get. Let's see, the other one by Oh, his name is escaping me. Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Robert Kiyosaki. You know, those are books that are basically going to set your hardwire in your brain on what to do and how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but unfortunately, a lot of us came up being shown overnight success, where kids now get overnight success every time they turn on TikTok, every time they turn on a different social media app. But the reality is, the ones who do the steady work day after day are the ones who really get rich. And you just will never know it because they don't have that kind of lifestyle.
Now,
Those are the really rich people. The Millionaire Next Door. I can't remember the author, but The Millionaire Next Door is another book, and it just talks about the ordinary guy who has all these little small investments, and he's filthy rich, but you would never know it.
Now, you touched on something that behind the scenes we talk about a lot, about you can tell an individual who is broke and you can tell an individual who has money
Very quickly. Yeah.
very quickly. The person who is broke is very flashy and very loud.
Mm-hmm.
The person who has money is very inconspicuous.
Yep.
You'll see them in the Vans, in the Levi 501 jeans, the shirt from Walmart.
Yep.
You know, an individual who is broke, you'll see them with the Fendi, MCM, the Louis Vuittons.
Well,
why do we wear our money on our back instead of having our money in the bank?
that's deep. It's a deep answer. It's a deep question, and it's a deep answer. We're always trying to prove to someone we're not broke. But culturally, since the beginning, we got to give it up. We've always had style.
Right.
That's never going to change.
Right.
It's never going to change. But trying to show someone our style and how it's all set up now. Just look at every commercial, how it's geared. If let's put it this way, every time a commercial come on, if they dancing in commercials, turn it off real quick, because we know what they're doing. We know who they're targeting as soon as they start dancing. We know who they're targeting when they have all this music and scenery behind the latest gear. And the thing about it is, we all know it come from China and made for pennies on the dollar, just like them Jordans, which I will never wear a pair of. Never bought my son a pair. Never bought anybody a pair of Jordans. Why? Because those shoes are $8. Why am I going to go and pay $200 for those shoes? And they can't do anything for you but get you into trouble.
Or get you killed.
So a lot of things that we are doing, we just have to change our mindset. But even you know this, and I'm gonna touch on this and just keep it a buck. Being a square is not the move. And I've always been a square. It's hard being a nerd. It's hard growing up with, you wanting to learn something and wanting to have some intelligence and wanting to know about different things in our community, because we make it so that that's frowned upon. But the flashy dude is the one who gets all the prizes.
Right.
That's us. That ain't nobody. Forget everybody else on the outside. That's us. And we have to let kids know, nah, it's the opposite. Be the nerd. Be the smart dude. Be the bookworm. That's great. because all this other stuff don't last.
But you know, when do you think that it changed? Because if you look at, like, say, like you look at our core individual group that we was growing up with, right? Every last one of these individuals was nerds on different levels.
Right.
And when did it become uncool to be intelligent?
I think it started back then. It wasn't as prevalent, but now there's a whole shift in how we view people and how we view everyone's perspective. We're not looking at the character. We're looking at costumes. And the costumes just became more and more absurd to the point where costumes today, you know, the costumes that, you know, people were wearing back when we were coming up, it was how hard you looked. The costumes today, if we take it from the men's side, is how pretty you look.
Right.
And the women are looking harder than the men. So when we look at what really changed in our society, we got it all mixed up.
Now, with that is I remember, like, we, you know what I'm saying, back then they would have spelling bees and math math competitions and honor rolls and principal honor rolls and things of that nature. And that was like a thing with us. Who grades were higher than whose, and did you make this? And individuals pushed each other.
Right.
I noticed that when it became uncool to dance, that's when culture started changing.
Oh man. I'm about to start laughing because I know you remember this story. Where
it had nothing to do with it.
When we were going to the little sweat boxes, and Born P was running down the street and just did a Superman trying to get to go to the dance, because we were going to dance with girls.
Right.
And my brief stint in the nightclub business, I saw it all change firsthand, because it started out where everybody was coming in and everybody wanted to dance with someone. It wasn't just the guys went over here and danced and the girls went over there and danced. Everybody was mixing and dancing.
Right.
But then the onslaught of all these different social media apps, I think, took a lot of personality out of people. I think we become antisocial due to social media, and that took everybody away. So there are a lot of connections that we had prior that we don't have now. We're not connected to people anymore. And just on the business side, I get more people saying, because I strictly work virtually, that they prefer it more. They don't want to come to your office. They don't want to sit down and meet you. They would just rather do it on their phones. We've become disconnected in so many different ways.
Now, do you feel like this is like a forced introverted culture?
Yes, it's forced. These algorithms are much smarter than we are.
New normal.
Yeah. They know us better than we know ourselves.
Wow. It's getting close to time where the show is over, and I'm looking at the time and I'm like, there's so much more that I want to ask you.
Oh yeah.
And we got to do it again.
We definitely have to do it again.
Absolutely.
And ladies and gentlemen, Rob, matter of fact, Rob, just tell them how they can reach you, that they get in touch with you for advice or anything else.
Okay, so my website is workwithmcfadden.com. Phone number is 240-929-1040. It's 240-929-1040. And you can find me on any of the social media apps as McFadden Accounting Tax Strategist.
Also, too, I want to say to Miss Lisa Key, may peace be upon your mom. You know, we know that you lost your mom, and she's a beautiful lady.
Sweet lady. Yeah.
And I want to say, you know, our condolences, heartfelt condolences go out to you. You know, this is another person that we grew up with, and you know, and we have much love for her as well.
Absolutely.
But I want to take time out and tell you I love you, bro. You know what I'm saying? And it's been more than a pleasure, man, to have you on here. You know, and it gives me a great feeling to give my people, my brother, an opportunity and a platform for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I greatly appreciate it.
To do what he does, and honestly, to do what you do, and I've seen you over the years. As an adult, you have taken yourself to levels and heights that just I'm in awe of.
Appreciate that.
And I'm saying this, when we was in Norfolk, you had your own, you know what I'm saying, accounting and strategy building office in there. You had different little things going on, but you stayed grounded. You know what I mean? You stayed hustling, you stayed grinding, you stayed motivated, you stayed pushing, and always kept that door open to be able to give out this wealth of information to other individuals. And a lot of people didn't take that opportunity to get it from you. But I want you to know that I listened on a lot of our conversations.
I appreciate that.
And that's not just as an adult. I'm talking about as teenagers.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because we've had conversation on Astor Place. We've had conversation on Alice Boulevard.
Yeah.
And, you know what I mean? We've had conversations. And like when I tell people, we've been around each other. And Born Pete get mad because he had the pompadour in that picture.
I thought you know what? We've grown up, because I thought we was gonna cut up a lot more, but we kept it. That's our buddy. That's our buddy. Yeah.
You know,
he's gonna see that. I'll get a call soon.
But that was the core right there. In that picture, It was myself, it was you, it was Chambers, it was Adrian, it was him. And that's who was together on a consistent basis. So I say thank you for coming on. You know what I'm saying? Thank you for being a brother to me for all these years. You know what I'm saying? And how much I really appreciate you. Because when I got to Norfolk, you gave me an opportunity, you know what I'm saying, and opened the door for me to do my own thing when I was down there. So I appreciate that. I never got an opportunity to tell you that. But when it came down to doing security, that door was open because you opened it for me and allowed me to do my thing. And I was able to have my own security business going at the same time. So I appreciate, you know what I'm saying, the things that you had done for me over the course of my life. So thank you for coming on, you know, and I appreciate you. All right.
All right. Love you, bro.
Love you too.
Pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure likewise, man. Learned a lot. Wanted to give you, since you mentioned the book, The Millionaire Next Door, the two authors, Thomas J. Stanley, William D. Danko. Those are the two brothers for that book.
Got you.
Yeah, very informational, man. We appreciate that, man. I hope that a lot of people did the knowledge to this show, because I sure enough got a lot of more questions for you, and we're going to have you back. All right. Appreciate
Just give us 2 minutes so we can make sure we get this copy to you and everything else. All right.
Much love. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Hold on. Just hold on.
Yeah,
hey, you know what time it is, bro? You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Peace and blessings to Allah's mighty 5% nation of gods and earth, to all the human families of the planet Earth. Once again, we bid you a love, peace, and happiness high salute. And everybody, please be safe, like we talked about earlier. because this Arctic blast is no joke. Temperatures are down in the negatives. So just be aware and keep your family and friends safe and check on people, all right? This is DJ K Wise once again on behalf of our co-hosts, Joshimel Allah, Yoshi Mod, and our sister Lynn Myers. We thank you all for tuning in, all right? We'll see you when we see you. Y'all take care. Peace and blessings.
Yo, ladies and gentlemen, we starting to come to the end of the show. Right now, I want to take the time out and thank our guests for coming on. Also, too, we want to make sure that y'all listening and subscribing, and tell a friend and keep sharing, because we're going to keep bringing y'all the real content. You know what I mean? So, DJ K Wise, my brother, take us up out of here, son.
True indeed, true indeed. I want to give a big shout out to the nation of gods and earths. To all the human families on planet Earth, I say peace. But to our subscribers, those who continue to watch and listen to the show each and every time we come on, I give a big shout out of love, peace, and happiness to you. To peace, the man, woman, and child of the universe. It's time for us to disperse. We bring the best, not the worst. We thank you once again for tuning in to the Real 360. Bring a friend to hit that like and subscribe, so we continue to grow to bring more knowledge and wisdom to you. Upon our show, you make it possible for us to do what we do. Now it's time I end it just the way I bring it.